Thank you for joining us. So myself, Josh Packer, and my colleague Lasse, we just wanted to do a bit of long form content. So we're going to try and make this around 15 minutes. And we're going to talk about the current situation here on the ground in Dubai. Now, we're not really here to make any predictions. We are just here to make this a little bit personable and just try and express how we're sensing things are going right now. And Lasse, do you want to give us a bit of a reason why you feel we're in a position to do so?
Yeah, so first and foremost, my name is Lasse. I've been in real estate since 2009, and the last 3 years has been in Dubai. Of course, you know, seeing drones and missiles in the skies has been a huge thing for people here, but in the end of the day, I think we're very safe.
I mean, I couldn't feel safer. I was in the Address Creek Harbour Tower 1 when Tower 2 got hit. And yes, of course, it was quite a reality check, to be honest. Because up till that point, the only thing that I had seen is what I've seen on social media, WhatsApp videos. And I guess that's almost how it must feel in the UK. Obviously, I don't watch or all over the world, to be honest. We know that obviously, because Dubai is such a multicultural city, it just spreads like wildfire as to what's going on here. But yeah, I mean, for you, Lasse, you live on the Palm, you live opposite the Fairmont, I live in the Address, so we feel as though this is quite key for us to talk about.
Absolutely, and I think everybody talks about, oh wow, Dubai has always been a safe haven. And I think definitely still Dubai is a safe haven, but we are living in a world where we cannot be in a position where we can do X, Z and I. But now we can see that it's still a safe haven, and also that Dubai can take care of itself. When there's something in the world who's going to wants to attack Dubai, we can shoot it down and still be safe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, that's a very good perspective to start on, Lasse, because safety today is a different question to safety tomorrow. And the number one factor here in both safety of the residents and also the real estate market, the key word here is uncertainty. So the reason why there's so much commotion about the situation right now is because everyone is uncertain what will happen, whether that's on the ground from a day-to-day perspective or whether that's the real estate market. Now, of course, because we're real estate agents, we will allude to the real estate market. However, I think the key thing here is the uncertainty of the safety is quite a core topic, because I've been advising my clients and my friends with families here that realistically, today, yes, everything is open. The shopping malls are open, beach clubs, everything is as normal today. However, that could change and escalate very, very quickly at the snap of a finger. So if you have a family, I think it is a sensible option to take the precaution to maybe get out of here, because if something did escalate tomorrow, then of course it's a very different scenario. Everything closes down, the airport is closed, we're in a different city. However, at the same time, as Lasse said, it is very, very life as normal today.
Yeah, and absolutely, I think if you should have a look into what will happen normally, when at the moment, if you look into a market cycles in real estate, at the moment, you know, for a couple of weeks ago, we denied that this was happening. Now we are in a situation in the phase 2, what I will call a fear. Everybody is holding the breath and say, what will happen? And definitely, in my opinion, yeah, we will go to a phase 3 where we'll see some kind of correction, and people will maybe panic a little bit. And after that, when we have a phase 4, that is where we'll have the stabilization, and from there we'll have an uptrend again.
Absolutely.
But if we are in phase 2 now, and everybody has this kind of fear moment, and I think in Dubai, when I'm here, I feel very safe. But the problem, or what we should be aware about, is the psychology about, you know, understand it. Because when we see fear as a normal human being, you just see everything you go down to a black hole. But if you understand the phases in real estate, that this is just a normal cyclus, and understand that one, you'll be absolutely okay. That Now we are in a fierce situation.
Absolutely.
If I was a seller, and we know there will be a correction and maybe a little bit of panic, if I was a seller at the moment, consider one or two sell maybe in the next year, 1.5 years. I'll absolutely in a fear stadium consider to get out of the market now if you wanted to sell it short term.
Of course. So I think Dubai reacts very differently, or the investors of Dubai react very differently, because it's a very cash-rich market.
Yes.
So 80% of the property owned here is bought in cash, which means it reacts very differently because it almost is treated as the stock market. However, it is not anything like the stock market, and exactly what Lasse is alluding to here. Phase one, we have the shock. So we have a complete pause in all transaction because nobody knows what's going on. Of course, there's individuals like myself who was very optimistic. It would just be a very quick few days of issues and everything goes back to normal. Now, because this has not happened and it has now continued for 14 to 18 days, we enter phase two, which is where we are right now, as Lasse alludes to. Now, in this phase, you have two very different types of character. Your legacy and experienced investors, they may see this as the opportunity to do damage control, damage limitation, and exit their unit for minimal loss, because ultimately there is huge buyer interest in the market right now, people looking for a very good deal. And if you wanted to exit at this point because you know the U-shape could potentially enter phase three, now would be a very good time to try and exit your unit, because ultimately, because this conflict is going on, we possibly are going to enter phase three. Now, what I find very interesting, Lasse, and you'll have a very good take on this, in COVID, we did not enter phase three. Because the UAE dealt with COVID so well and the global pandemic so well, we skipped phase three straight to phase four. Skipped from phase two straight to phase four. And we didn't hit the bottom of the U-shape. We almost flatlined and went straight back up. So how would you estimate this could go?
I think it's spot on. I think we talk with a lot of European investors. I'm from Denmark, and if the market in the Danish real estate going down by 15 or 20%, let's say they purchase a apartment for 1 million. The mortgage is normally in total in Denmark about 95% of the purchasing price. And if you see the market go down by 20%, you have a value of 800,000 dirhams, and you have a mortgage in total of 950,000 dirhams. I would be afraid for that market. Yeah. But when you last year have more than 50% of all the transaction as a pure cash buy, it's absolutely a very fast-pacing market, and being in phase three in the panic level can be very, very fast before we move into the correction.
Absolutely.
And to the stabilization. The last thing I wanted to add, I always remembered an area when I was having my own company in real estate in Denmark called Hasseris. When we was in a cycle where things was a little bit about panic and fear, when you have the best locations, when you have the best developers, even in secondary or in off-plan,
absolutely,
these areas was not falling. There was just stagnation, and until the next uptrend, it goes up. So I think there's a huge potential as a buyer going in there, and also as a seller, understand if you have a prime, take it easy. Paul Villa, DFC apartment.
For sure. The prime real estate with true sort of longevity actually has a very different investor profile who are here to play the long game. I think Dubai historically has a very short-term investor mindset because of the nature of payment plans and the sort of the flip mentality. Whereas in any other real estate market in the world, it's generally the long game. It's sort of buy to let, hold, and get your long-term capital appreciation. Now, what I would also say is, look, if you do not choose to exit now, our advice is potentially exit now and damage limitation. However, we could see a very quick fall to the bottom of the U-shape, which is phase three. Now, if this happens, this is where your inexperienced investors will seriously be panicking. This is the panic phase, where they think this is never going to recover, this is the very end of the market, and now I need to get out, and I will cash out at the absolute bottom. Now, this is what we see traditionally in market cycles.
I think there's also a basic thing to do real estate. When fear is here, when panic is here, it's also all about for us just, we are here. We are in Dubai. With all due respect, when I see some of my colleagues are not in Dubai, wanted to sell, who will do the viewings? Who will go to the off-plan developer to sign some papers and stuff? I think the basics about, as a real estate agent today, is also just about being here.
Absolutely.
And show up every day. And
I think what's been the biggest eye-opener for me, and I'm not going to sit here and make out I'm the most experienced agent in the world, but the biggest eye-opener for me is the volume of buyer interest. I have a channel with over 700 people in it for distress opportunities, which shows there are investors in Dubai, hundreds of them, thousands even. Obviously, I'm one agent and I've got 700 potentially in my channel. They are very, very keen to find a good deal because they understand the longevity of the situation. If they can enter at a good price now, this could potentially be the lowest that market will ever be again, ever. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because in the perfect world, you will start when you have a fear and a panic market. You will see normally in the perfect world, you'll have the sellers come to the market, and after that, you'll have the buyers. Now, if people understand in this real estate business and mindset is that now you have put out all the buyers. There's out of 10 clients at the moment, 9 out of 10 is buyers. But if you wanted to exit as a seller at the moment, I think in the next 1 year, 1.5 years, you should definitely go there and embrace it. Because at the moment, so many sellers is not wanted to go and enter the market as a seller because they don't have any mortgage in the property.
Absolutely.
But if you want to sell short term, you should definitely look into all these buyers that we have.
Exactly. Now, this is a very, very key point about what is happening in the market right now. And that is, with a number of these off-plan purchases that are potentially distressed, in our opinion, a distressed deal is someone who has now been very commercially impacted on an income basis and can now not afford to keep up the payments. I've spoken to many of my investors who have the cash ready for their payments either way. That, in my opinion, is not a distressed seller. A genuine distressed seller is someone who can now not afford to make the payments because they've been impacted by what is going on. So there's very different between distress and damage control. Yeah. Distress is when you have to get out and you will take the best offer you can. Whereas damage control is more of a negotiation.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the most important thing that just we sit, one time a week and make these investor snapshots for our clients. For me, it's all about that we are here in the market. I have, discussions and conversation with my clients, and we take them hand by hand and send out at least one time a week an investor snapshot about the psychology, about the market and stuff. I think it's so important that you really just take the hand of your client.
Absolutely.
And send them valuable information. Because this is a long-term game.
For sure. And I think it's very different for us, Lasse, who have been part of the journey from the very start with the client. When we made the investment, we were investing for the right reasons. We know why they've bought and we know their game plan. So we know how to approach that. However, I've actually picked up a client in the last week who has 4 units. I didn't sell him any of them. Fortunately, 3 of the assets are very, very good assets in this situation. However, what I did, I put together a spreadsheet of a cash flow forecast. And effectively, we're going to consider exiting the one that has him the most exposed. Because he needs the most capital outlay over the next 18 months. And in theory, if we take that one out of the picture, he's already actually pretty much invested and it's worth the hold on those options. However, it may not be worth him outlaying the remaining capital on that one specific unit. So it's things like this that we can obviously walk the seller through. And of course, we have a portfolio of buyers ready to go for those nature of units. Now, again, I think in this market, and if you are looking to sell, you do need to be in a position or you do need to be willing to take a small loss. Now, in my opinion, and you can advise on this as well, Lasse, I feel with off-plan resale, you need to be positioning somewhere 10% below original price. With a ready unit, you need to be positioning somewhere around 20% below previous market transactions. And that's how I feel like the model works, but I could be wildly wrong, and it goes by case scenario, but this is just the basis that I go on.
I totally agree with you, and I think if you look into it long term, and you look into the Henley migration report after COVID and after the other crises, we always come back stronger.
Absolutely.
So this small gap in the market, I think really, if you wanted to enter the market, you have all the opportunities. So I'm positive, and I think also in the end of the day, I'm also a very proud citizen of Dubai. His Highness and the government has given us so much. I had a discussion the other day, and that is just try to tell you how Dubai is here as a living, It's also about giving a little bit back at the moment. Everything is so easy lifestyle here. The other day I paid a little bit extra to the taxi driver. I paid a little bit extra to these drivers, give us medicine and stuff. It's really a nice lifestyle. We also have to remember that it's really there's nothing happening in the streets.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key thing ringing around of Dubai residents right now is we want to hold on to this city like never before because we value it so much. And the thought of having to ever leave this place is such a worry to many people here. Now, of course, if you need to protect your family and you feel like the best thing to do is up and move location for a period of time, that may be a very sensible thing to do. However, let's hope this conflict doesn't go on for much longer, but it could escalate, but it could not. We don't know, and that is the uncertainty piece. So you need to do what is right for you and your family, and if you want to discuss your position from a real estate point of view, we're very happy to help you and advise you on your specific assets. Thank you for your time, Lasse.
Pleasure, my friend.